Hello everyone, welcome back to the Traxion YouTube channel. Welcome to Laguna Seca for this iRacing Touring Car Challenge track guide. Now Laguna Seca, it's very special to me. This is where I got my first ever win on iRacing. Although, to let you into a little secret, I've never been a big fan of the racing around this circuit. Now this is going to be a really tricky week. People are going to overdrive, so we need to be in a position to capitalise when that does happen. Now, if you followed my track guides before, you'll know that they are not a place for hot laps. It's a slow, methodical approach where we talk about my braking markers, my reference points, and the little quirks that each circuit has. So as usual, I will show you a flying lap in full, then we'll jump in the car, do a few laps and show you those braking markers and reference points in action. Then at the end, we'll talk about pit entry, pit exit, and where I think you might be able to overtake here at Laguna Seca. So enough talking, let's get on track. So here we are then on the main straight here at Laguna Seca. So as usual, we've set the sim time to match the official series. So it's the 30th of April 2022 and the time in the sim is 12 noon. We're also using the iRacing sprint setup, which is what is used in the official series. Track temperature right now, as you can see on screen, is 54 degrees Celsius. Exactly the same as it was in the flying lap that you've just seen. And brake bias this week, we have gone for 43.4%. Now, there are a couple of really heavy braking areas here at Laguna Seca, namely turn 2 and the final turn. But there's a lot of trail braking here, so we do need the front of the car loaded. So we haven't gone as low as you may have thought. We're still trying to keep the brake pressure bias a little bit further forward than we normally would. So, turn 1 is actually going over the crest. All we want to do for turn 1 is keep the car over to the left hand side as much as we can, just to shorten the track. And then as we go over the crest, we're going to start moving across for the approach to turn number 2. Now you can see there's a white line on the circuit there, and then there's another one after the number 4. Now you don't want to go too far over to the right hand side because you will get off track. Just round about the 3 where this white line is, that's where I initiate my braking, and we're going to be braking all the way down into first gear. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can take turn number 2. You can either run in deep and then cut it back for the second apex, or hold a tight line around. I kind of go for something in the middle. So I go all the way down to first gear, hit the first apex, the car will run wide a little bit, and then I accelerate and then short shift a second just to prevent the wheel spin. And if you get it right, the car will run all the way out to this curb, then up to third gear for turn number 3. Now you want your left tyres on the curb as we approach turn number 3. And a rule of thumb, a general rule of thumb here at Laguna Seca is your turning point isn't far away from the end of the curb. which is on, you know, your near side, for example, here. So on the left-hand side, so the outside curb, we want to be turning in just before the end of the curb. So you can see the white triangular part of the curb there. That's going to be our turning point. So we're going to be third gear here. We're going to be lifting trail braking to the apex. And it's really important here at Laguna Seca not to get greedy before the apex. Always wait until you're happy that you can get on the gas and stay on the gas. So the car will run out wide onto this curb. Make sure you get it back onto the track at the end. Leave it in third gear. Then as we approach here, we're going to be, again, just trail braking a tiny bit. Get the car to the apex, then back on the accelerator. The car will run out wide. Then we're going down into fifth gear as we approach turn number 5. Right tyres on the curb. And we're going to be braking just where this white line is. So there's the 3, the 2, and we've got the white line in the middle. That's where we're going to be braking. And again, general rule of thumb, where the end of the curb is. So right about here, we're going to start our turning. Third gear, but one nice tight line on the inside, because there is quite a little bit of camber here on the inside. So try and take advantage of the camber. Then accelerate at the apex. Car will run out wide. Use this curb on exit. Make sure you get back on before the sand. Now the approach to the kink. Now really, really tricky in the touring car. Front wheel drive, obviously, so there's a lot of coasting here, and you're kind of waiting until the car hits the dip until we start accelerating. So you can see the 2 board in front of us there. Well, there's a rubbered piece of curb in there. You can see there's a few dark marks on it as we approach. So it's just kind of above our dashboard right now. You can see it better on a flying lap. That's where we're going to be braking very, very gently. We're going to be braking just a small amount of braking. 4th gear until the car is in at the apex. Now the car will turn a little bit more than you think here. So just bear in mind that you might need some minor corrections as you approach the apex. And when you're in the dip here, all the suspension is compressed. Then you can accelerate. The car will run out wide. Again, that's really important not to get too greedy going into the kink. Now 4th gear all the way up to the corkscrew. So you want your left tyres on this curb, and then we're going to be attacking this right curb here, and we're going to be braking here now hard down into 2nd gear. We want to open up the left turn as much as you can. Now it's really, really easy here to turn in too much or too early, and you're getting off track on the left hand side. So try not to turn in too early. Again, use the end of the curb as your guide there, and we turn in, and then we're going to be aiming for the right hand tree there. So you can see there's 3 trees in front of us there. You've got the 2 close together, then you've got the right hand one. If you aim your car there, so if that tree is level with your dashboard, then you know you're going to be in line for the apex coming out of the corkscrew. As you can see, we are. We're going to be accelerating all the way through here. That was 2nd gear up to 3rd gear. And then here, kind of middle of the track, we just want to be coasting, a little bit of trail brake till we get to this apex, and then get on the gas hard up to 4th. Left tyres on the curb here. We're going to be braking down to 3rd. Again, turning at the end of the curb on the left hand side. Then here we're going to be braking round about the 2 board. We're going to be braking in a straight line and turning in quite late down to 1st gear. Be careful for wheel spin on exit. You might need a short shift to 2nd. Use all of this on exit. And there we go. That's a nice short lap of Laguna Seca. Right, we'll pick up the pace a little bit now. So turn 1 is just the crest. Car over to the left hand side. So we're in 5th gear. We're going to be looking for the white line at the 3. There it is, all the way down to 1st gear. And then we're going to be turning, accelerating, then short shift to 2nd, just to prevent the wheel spin. Up to 3rd, move the car over to the left. Then we're going to be braking all the way to the apex. Then get on the gas at the apex. Car will run wide. Leave it in 3rd gear. Then we're going to be braking again at the apex. Get on the gas. Try not to be too greedy here. Less is definitely more. So we're looking for the white line across the circuit. Down 2 gears, down to 3rd gear. Nice tight line where it's cambered on the inside. Use that curb on the exit. Up to 4th. Now we're trying to spot that rubbered section of curb. There it is. So a little bit of brake. Turn in at the apex. Then we can get on the accelerator. If you get on the gas before the apex, there's a good chance you're going to run wide. So again, we're going to be braking across this curb, down to second. Don't turn in too early. Look, aim for that tree. There it is. Up to third, middle of the circuit. A little bit of brake just to help the car rotate. Then get on the gas just at the apex, up to fourth. Same here, we're going to be braking down to third, at the apex, and then get on the accelerator. We're braking at the 2 in a straight line. Apex in this one, quite late, down to first gear. Get on the accelerator. Use all of this runoff. There we go. Right, we'll do one more lap, try and pick up the pace a little bit more. That's a 33.4. Loads more time left on the track there. So we're going to be braking at the white line. There's the deeper line there, so you can cut it back. The second apex. And we're going to be braking here, turning in. Get on the gas. Leave it in third gear. And we're just going to turn in, and again at the apex, get on the gas nice and early. Up to fifth gear, braking at the white line. Down 2 gears, nice and tight here. And get on the gas, use this curb on the exit. Up to fourth, looking for the darker piece of curbing. There it is. So a little bit of brake, turn in, get on the gas at the apex. That's better. Tyres on the curb on the left hand side. Attack this right hand side curb. Braking hard down to second gear. Aim for that tree. There it is. Up to third. And here we're just going to be coasting. Trail brake a little bit. We want the car just pointing where it needs to go. Again, we're going to be braking down to third. On the gas at the apex. With the 2 board, we're going to be braking straight line. Down to first gear. Got to shift to second to prevent the wheel spin. It's a better lap. And there we go. That's a 132.182. That's quicker than the flying lap that you saw at the start of the video, but that was on worn tyres. I think I'd done about 5 laps on those tyres. So these are very, very fresh. Low 132s. High 31s is probably going to be top split in qualifying. And on the fastest laps, I would guess. But there we go. Right, let's talk about pit entry, pit exit, and at the end we'll talk about where I think we might be able to overtake. So pit entry and pit exit here at Laguna Seca, it isn't too bad. Although there's a nasty turn on pit entry and there's a nasty turn on pit exit. So we're going to be approaching the pits. It's just after turn number 10. So when we exit this turn, we're going to be moving the car over to the left hand side. Enter pit lane. Now, here it's really important you get your car as far to the right hand side as you can without going over the sand and getting on off track, because this left turn is absolutely brutal. And there's the yellow cone there, so we need the pit limiter on at this point. Apart from that, it's straightforward. It's just that left turn that's the tricky part. There's the green cone. We're going to release the limiter at that point. We're going to accelerate all the way up here over the hill. Keep accelerating all the way around. We're going to be braking at the end of these bollards on the right, just before the sand. And we're going to be braking hard all the way down to first gear. Now be very, very careful here. This left turn is off camber. It's really easy to put a wheel on the sand. And if you do, then you're in all kinds of trouble. There's the blue cone, so we can exit the pit lane and move across at that point, but just bear in mind that there's cars going to be coming out of turn number 2 that are going to want to be across to the left hand side of the circuit. So as always, keep an eye on your relative, stay to the left hand side, and if needs be, just yield, let those guys by and try and tuck in behind them somewhere. So pit entry, pit exit isn't too bad. It's just the 2 left turns you need to be careful of. Right, overtaking. So overtaking here then at Laguna Seca, it's not going to be that easy. Although this might be one of those circuits where you need to get people to overdrive. And if they do here at Laguna Seca, then they're going to be in big trouble. So we're going to assume, as always, that people are going to defend. So we're going to talk about what we can do as an alternative to combat that defensive driving. So turn number 2. So turn number 1 is just the curve. If they're going to be defending, if they're going to be over here, well, we're going to have to do something different. If not, then go up the inside, turn number 2. But they're going to be holding really, really tight defensive line. And what we want to do is make them outbrake themselves into turn number 2 and go really deep, because that's realistically the only place or the only time we're going to get by on turn number 2 is if they drop deep, and then we can cut it back. So we want to make them think that we're going to try and go for the inside line. At the last moment, we're going to move back over to our normal braking zone and brake as normal. Now we're going to hope that at this point they've then gone forwards and they're going to be braking and missing their apex. And if that happens, then we can just take a nice tight line here and block off this second apex. And if we do, then there's a good chance that we've got the overtake done turn number 2. Now turn number 3, you might be able to get it done around the outside, but then we've got turn number 4 straight after, so there's not really much point in trying to go around the outside here, because you're not going to hold it, and you're certainly not going to hold it around turns 3 and number 4. So what I would do, I would just kind of sit behind them, try and make them defend. Nobody wants you to go up the inside, just try and make them defend, and then try and get a really good run out of turn number 4, and then try and get on the inside of turn number 5. Now, you're not going to hold it around the outside of turn number 5 in a touring car. You just haven't got that grip that you do with a rear-wheel drive car to get the car to rotate. If you're on the outside line around turn number 5, then realistically, it's not going to happen. So if you don't get it done down the inside of turn number 5, well, you might be able to get a really good run out and do it into the kink. Now, I wouldn't want to be going too wide into the kink unless I was on the inside. But bear in mind that your turning is much, much tighter than it is on a normal line. So you've just got to compensate for that and slow down a little bit more. That being said, it's still going to be much easier taking that line than it is around the outside. I've tried it. It's really difficult to hold a nice smooth line around the outside. Corkscrew, yeah, it can be done. I would much rather have the inside for the first part of the corkscrew and the outside for the second. So that means going up the inside here. It can be done either way. It just means that if you don't get the overtake done here, then you've got the inside line for turn number 9. But swings and roundabouts, if you don't, then you've got the inside line for turn number 10. So here, either way, inside or outside, you're not going to really get the move done and completed here, but around the outside there, you've got the inside line for turn number 9. If somebody's defending there, then we can hold an outside line here, a nice wide line, and then we've got the inside for turn number 10. But again, of course, because we're on the inside, it's a bit tighter, and then there's a good chance that they've got the inside line on the final turn. If they do, fine, we're just going to think about the exit as we normally do and try and get a good run on them down the straight with a better exit out of the turn. So that would be my advice. Try and get them to overdrive the circuit. I think that's what we're going to have to do this week. Try and get them to overdrive the circuit. Try and get them to break a bit deeper into turn number 2. Try and switch it back and get the inside line. Round turns 3, turns 4, not really going to be anything happening around there, although if you can get them to go defensive into turn number 4, then there might be a chance of an overtake up the inside of turn number 5. Similarly, through the kink, turn number 6, inside, I wouldn't go outside. Yes, there's potential at the corkscrew, but again, it's going to be swings and roundabouts whether you get the inside line or outside line, because the corners that follow, well, you can carry a bit more speed around the outside and you can overtake around the outside. Turn number 11, the final turn. It's going to be a classic maneuver, people overtaking up the inside there. But I would maybe rather wait, make them drive defensively and try and get them on the exit. So there we go. That's Laguna Seca done. Please let me know down below in the comments how you get on. What were your times before the guide? And what were your times after? Did I help? Did I cover everything that you wanted to be covered in a track guide? As always, thank you for watching. Good luck. Keep it pinned.